You're watching MMA Oddsbreaker. This is Frank Trigg, and that is Cung Lee. He's not on a movie set. He's not running around China. He's not running around Vietnam. He's actually in the States. As a matter of fact, he's playing dad today. Didn't you just drop your kids off?
Actually, my kids are right here. Look.
Hi.
Hey guys.
Some Krispy Kreme.
Really?
And I'm just gonna drop them off at their mom's house and then get home and then go on a date night with my wife.
Hey man, first of all, how are you eating Krispy Kreme and looking that good with your shirt off? That's not fair.
They're eating it, not me.
Oh, okay. Because you and I.
I did have one though. I was
gonna say you and I were born 20 days apart. I'm actually older than you by 20 days. But there is a situation now where I can't eat any of that stuff. I can't do anything at all, other than work out twice a day, eat a bunch of salad, drink a bunch of water. Otherwise, if I take my shirt off, I look like an old fat Russian bear. Like I just got this big gut and this big chest, and I'm 5'10". It's not a very flattering look.
I guess my metabolism is faster than yours.
That's not fair. That's not fair at all. It's not good. What's been going on with you lately? Like, what's the newest shtick? You got done with TUF China, and now what's happening now with you?
Well, next Friday I leave to China again. I do this 1 week media tour, which is going to be crazy, like the 16-day media tour compiled in 1 week, and then we finish the fight in Macao and the two weight division 145 and 170, the finale fights.
Let's talk about those fights. It's been China obviously has a huge population. Fighting is very, very big there, but MMA is not. What is the actual quality of fighter coming out of there right now? Is it on compare with England? Is it comparable to Germany? Is it comparable to the States? Is it comparable to Brazil? Like where are they fitting right now in the world market?
Well, their talent, they got really good talent. They just have very bad coaching. So they need to catch up. They really need to catch up.
Is it going to be a situation of guys like you having to go over there? Or is it going to be a situation where the better guys are going to come here, or a little bit of both? And when I say here, I mean America, but it could be anywhere for those guys. They could go almost anywhere in the world.
If they're smart, they should come here because I don't know how many great coaches will have the time to go over there and coach them. But, just any decent coach can make a big difference with these guys because they pick up really quick.
Is there money for guys to go over there and coach?
I believe that Mark Fisher told me that there's some kind of money that should be coming in to help develop them for the next 6 months. And then I think after that, they better get to the States and get on the horse.
Do you think the UFC has a 5-year plan for the Chinese fighters where they're going to go, we got to have somebody that's a legitimate contender, someone's in the space within 5 years, and so to do that, we have to actually support the coaching staff and make this happen themselves? So is the UFC going to do everything internal and try to facilitate this to happen as fast as possible? Or do you think it's going to be a situation where it's just going to, like, kind of like with England, the better guys just figured it out and they started moving over to the States and started training with all of us?
I think the smart thing to do is to capture that China market because on top of there are so many good athletes over there, but there's so much money over there, as in sponsorship. There's so many billionaires over there and so many companies that will get behind it. The UFC just needs to groom it, and hopefully the really good guys will come over to the States and train, and the other guys who don't have the money will get some decent training. And when they get some money, they should come over here to train also.
Is there a fighter that's not in the finale that got beat sometime in the show that you're still really excited about that you saw over there? Is like this guy has got potentially has a future, just didn't do well on the show?
There's this guy who's 145. He's a young kid. He's only like 19. He had no ground game. He had decent takedown defense. He runs off the fence, does the Anthony Pettis kicks. He's like awesome. But the reason why he lost is he fought this guy who was in Ping, who's in the finals at 145. That my coach Scott told Ping to act like you're gonna stand with him. So as soon as he got comfortable and felt like this kid's gonna stand with him, then he came in and the kid took him down. Then he got armbarred. And okay. It's just game plan and coaching. So
right back to what you originally said, they don't have very good coaches over there, and part of being a great athlete is having that great team around you. behind you.
Yeah.
That's your coaching staff, and it's a game they got to play with. I'm interested to see how this whole thing pans out. I'm interested to see how the finale goes, and I really want to see how good these guys really are. I mean, obviously they're a smaller culture, so they're going to have a lot of 35 and 45 pounders. They can infiltrate the division very, very quickly, but are any of these guys going to be able to step up to the game and be top 5 contender, top 4 contender very, very quickly? I'm interested to see how it works out. Because we can talk about all we want. It's time for head-to-head competition. When they actually fight guys, that are ranked 4th or ranked 3rd in the weight division, and where they win or lose is when it really counts. How is the language barrier going to be for Americans? We're very egocentric. If you don't speak English, we don't like dealing with you. Do you think there'll be a problem with us as we're watching TV and having to read all the subtitles underneath, or not being able to do interviews with these guys because they just don't speak enough English? Is there a way for these guys to make that transfer over? Are they trying to learn English? Are there enough translators to help them out? Like, what's going on with that?
There's going to be plenty of translators, but there's a couple kids that they got to the semis. Killed Albert, who's from Canada. If he trains with the right team and pushes it and makes that commitment, he can at least break into the lower tier and then work his way up. I just feel that in order to capture the market, you can't just always throw these guys to the wolves right away. You got to kind of groom them, build their pad their record a little bit, and then slowly the more wins they get, the more confidence they have. And then sometimes it all comes down to confidence. You go in there, the guy might be better, but you feel like you have the confidence, and you might shift the momentum of the fight and beat the guy. Sometimes it comes down to momentum.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about you. What's next for you acting-wise? I mean, you've got a ton of films going on. Every time I turn around, you're doing something else. If you're not actually filming something, you have another one that just came out that you filmed 6 or 8 months ago. What's next for you acting-wise?
I got Puncture Wounds, which Lionsgate's picked up. It was called A Certain Justice, but Lionsgate, they wanted to change the names around because they felt like justice. There's 200 other titles there that has justice in it. Right now, we're interviewing like directors for this project that is like Story by Me. I had my friend James Coyne, who was a director of Puncture Wounds, write it, and it's called Targets. And basically it's about a former Secret Service guy who quit and started his own detail company, protects a girl for 5 days against all the assassins around the world. So he takes her to a different country, and of course, when you fly into another country, you can't just bring your rocket launchers through customs. So it's more hand to hand. Guys that are more, they know that like the underground, then they can buy some weapons. But it's going to be about 70% hand to hand, and like the rest, a lot of shooting, a lot of like kind of like a spy, kind of almost a protecting thriller, so it's and then from that, I'm also trying to produce a project with me and Russell Peters, like an action comedy. So we're working on that right now. I can't give up too much right now, but I'm talking to some investors about it, and I prefer to produce my own movies because I'm Asian. I'm not the white guy who's in all these movies, and so unless I'm the henchman or the guy who gets killed all the time, I have to produce my own movies. I got to bring the financing to the table and then make things happen for myself, because I just feel like, working with from Master Wu Ping to Donnie Yen to Corey Yun, all the best action choreographer, action directors in the world. I feel like, that my IQ in, telling a story in fights is up there, and I think I can bring a new dynamic to the big screen where the guys from The Raid and Tony Jaa has nothing on it.
Yeah, got you. Well, there's a lot of fighters now that have jumped, myself included, have jumped into stunts, jumped into acting. Tate Fletcher, Jay Haran, of course, Randy Couture. I've been all of us are now making that jump in there, and it is one of those situations that all of us have kind of been talking. It's like, yeah, you got to start producing your own stuff or get on your friends' projects is the only way you can really do it. And the more and more I go and do stunt work, and the more and more I do acting work, all of a sudden I realize, hey, I know that guy when he was wrestling in Arizona State, and I know that guy when he's wrestling at Penn State, and they're all our age, and the guys that I kind of grew up wrestling with, and they're all kind of in the same boat. They're like, yeah, you want to be a star, you got to produce your own set and your own mindset and do it. And you're the cutting edge guy, so it makes a lot of sense of doing that. And it has come out, that your movies are a little bit more geared towards you because you're starting to get smart about how you do what roles you pick and which ones you're into. So it's working for you, that's for sure. And you're a big hit over in Asia. Now it's got to get you a big hit over here, get you even bigger over here in the States.
Yeah. And Asia in 2015, their box office will outgross our box office. So that's the market to be over there. And at the same time, I help the UFC, put their talents into China. At the same time, I can meet with all these guys that want to do films with me. Believe it or not, one of the guys on the show, I didn't even know he was a producer. He produces. He's the main guy for Village Roadhouse, which is a big film company.
Yeah.
He's the main guy in China, and he's all, "Hey, Cung, I heard you had a script." I'm like, "I do," and then he's all, "Send it to me." I'm like, "Well, you got to focus on your fights. Let's just focus." Then afterwards, I've been talking to him, and we're in talks about a project that my friend wrote for me, so geared towards China because they don't have good sci-fi movies. So I put one and one together, and hopefully all those puzzle pieces will start connecting, and then the puzzle gets finished. So it's not like for us guys, we don't have tits and ass like Ronda and Gina Carano. So their road is a little bit easier. It's say nothing. I'm happy for them. I think it's great, and I think it helps the sport. But for a guy like us, all we got is what we've done in the past, and we are the real deal in stepping into the film, and we just got to hone our art, our acting, and make a name for ourselves, because there's a lot of, for me, working with MMA fighters, they're more daring than the stunt guys. I love the stunt guys because they keep us safe, but the MMA guys who, the first time, they're like, "Throw me higher." I'm like, "Oh, you sure? Just throw me. If you can throw me and hit the roof, that's great." I'm like, MMA guys, most MMA guys, they should be doing stunts because they're crazy. So,
well, as your projects come together, don't keep my number handy. Get ready to start calling it. I may not be the fit, but at least I'll know somebody that you don't know that is a fit for that pot. Because all of us have to help each other out because none of us look the same. There's no way that you and I are going to be fighting for the same look. I'm not. I can do a lot of things in my life. I can play a lot of things, but I can't play a 40-year-old Asian guy. I can't do that. It's just not going to work for me.
No,
true. Jay Iran can't do the same thing, and neither can Tori Vogel, and neither can Kieran Gallagher. No one can play. We can't play each other because we're all totally different heights, looks, abilities, the whole thing. So it always works out that that's, like you said, putting a puzzle piece together. Hey, Trigg, do you know somebody that's 6'3", weighs 200, knows how to wrestle? Yeah, call Kieran. It's just
No, I think that's great because my goal is to, of course, I always want to use stunt guys because I want to keep the actors safe. But I think for me, going back to roots is, working with MMA guys, the martial artists, and bringing them on because the movies I've done in the past, I don't think I would have won the award if it wasn't because if I work with stunt guys, they don't want to get souffled on their neck, or they don't understand about, don't hit me, I'll sell the punch. And, a couple scenes, I'm like, "Hey, you got to sell the punch." They're like, "I can't sell the punch. You just hit me and make it look real." I'm like, "All right." So it made it look a lot more real. So these stunt guys, they don't want to get hit, but these MMA fighters just hit me. I'm like, "Oh, it makes it look better." Because look at Tony Jaa, look at what the Raid's doing. They're really hitting. Yeah. And I think the evolution of film, because of UFC and because of MMA, they can't compete, with these kind of movies. So the only way they can compete now is really more contact. And that's why the Raid is so hot. That's why Tony Jaa is so hot, because it looks so real. So
yeah, and I agree with you. And every time I work with someone that's a former MMA guy or a former wrestler, we have any kind of punching or kicking scene. I just did a Vinnie Jones, Daryl Hannah movie, and the guy I worked with was a former wrestler. I had to front kick him into the wall, and the first couple of times I was working with a stunt guy. He finally was like, "Look, just kick me," and I front kicked him into the wall. I planted it right on his chest and put it in there, and the director's like, "That's the one, that's the sell." I'm like, "All right, that's the one we're working with," and that's because it's that mentality of we know how to take the hit, we know how to take the punch, and it's fine. So it does make the movies a little bit more authentic and a little bit more understandable, and that's why guys like Couture everybody he works with, he throws these guys on their head and he chucks them around. That's why it works for you, because you throw these guys on their head and you chuck them in the background. They better know how to land, otherwise they're going to get hurt. That's just how it works. So
Yeah.
it's good. Well, Cung, thanks. I know you just dropped your kids off. I know you want to get home to the wife when it's date night. It's Valentine's night, and you get on that date.
Hey.
So I appreciate it, bud. Good luck, and I'll definitely be talking to you soon.
Thank you. Thanks for the interview.